drowning in $69,000 of debt. I felt trapped. The thought of ever being financially free seemed impossible. But then I discovered Dave Ramsey's baby steps, and everything changed. If you're feeling overwhelmed by debt and longing for financial freedom, you are not alone. In this video, I'm taking you on my personal journey using Dave Ramsey's baby steps. I'll be sharing the challenges that I faced, the victories that I celebrated, and the specific strategies that helped me pay off my debt. Along this journey, I discovered some game-changing truths about managing money that go beyond the baby steps. So stick around until the end, because these revelations might just change your financial outlook too. It's December 27th, 2018, and we're in $69,000 of debt. My wife and I are trying to figure out how to afford a cross-country move from Florida to the Pacific Northwest. That moment of desperation led me to a Google search that changed everything. I typed in how to get out of debt, and that's when I found Dave Ramsey's baby steps. Now, I'll be honest, when I discovered the baby steps, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. For the first time, someone had broken down the complex world of personal finance into a clear and deliberate process. It wasn't about complicated theories or overwhelming strategies. It was a straightforward, step-by-step roadmap that made tackling my $69,000 in debt feel possible. Now, the baby steps weren't just financial advice. They were a lifeline. Each step was showing me exactly what I needed to do next. No more confusion, no more feeling lost, just a clear path forward. And let me tell you, that clarity was exactly what I needed in that moment of financial chaos. So today, I'm going to walk you through my journey with the baby steps, what I learned, and how I've adapted them to fit real life. Because let's face it, personal finance is personal, and one size doesn't always fit all. So let's start with baby step one. Save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. This step was a game changer for me. Before, any unexpected expense would send me into a panic. But having that $1,000 cushion, it was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders. Now, here's where things got interesting. In May of 2019, about 5 months after discovering the baby steps, I made the tough decision to move across the country for work, leaving my family behind temporarily in Florida. This separation lasted for 5 months, and it really put our financial strategy to test. During this time, we had to use our emergency fund twice. First, the air conditioning cooling system went out. That was $1,500. Then the blower went out for another $1,300. We even had to convince the AC tech to fix it because it was so old. The $1,000 emergency fund isn't a magic solution that will cover every possible emergency. Sometimes it's an unexpected expense that might exceed that amount. But what it does is provide something far more valuable, a psychological buffer. Instead of feeling completely overwhelmed when something goes wrong, you now have a financial cushion that gives you breathing room. It transforms emergencies from total financial disasters to manageable challenges. That mental shift alone is worth more than the $1,000 in the bank. Moving on to baby step two, pay off all debt using the debt snowball. This was a big one for me. Now, remember that $69,000 in debt that I mentioned? Here's how it broke down. $19,000 of it was a retirement loan. $5,000 was a personal loan from my dad, and the rest was credit card debt. At the time, I didn't know about alternative debt payoff methods. The debt snowball method was my first real exposure to a systematic approach to eliminating debt. And what drew me in was its incredibly methodical process. Instead of getting overwhelmed by the total amount, I could focus on one debt at a time, creating small wins that would keep me motivated. This strategy was simple. List debts from smallest to largest and attack the smallest one first while making minimum payments on everything else. Each debt I paid off would feel like a victory, giving me the momentum to tackle the next one. It wasn't about mathematical efficiency. It was about creating a psychological win that would keep me committed to my financial transformation. Now, our first big victory came quickly. We used our tax return to completely eliminate a $3,000 credit card bill. And let me tell you, paying off that first debt felt amazing. It was like a switch flipped in my mind. And suddenly, this whole debt payoff journey wasn't just a theory, it was real, and we were making progress. So, to make this work, I had to make some tough choices. During those 5 months of separation, I worked 16-hour days, juggling my day job and driving for Uber. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Next up is baby step 3. That's all about saving 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. Now, for us, this step aligned perfectly with our planned relocation from Florida to the Pacific Northwest. We had always intended to sell our house in Florida to make the move happen. It was a big decision, but one that was part of our larger life plan. And here's where it gets interesting. The sale of our house turned out even better than we'd hoped. We were fortunate enough to get enough from the sale to accomplish 3 major financial goals. First, we paid off all of our remaining debt. We had a down payment for our new house in Camas, Washington, and we were able to establish a $25,000 emergency fund. That $25,000 wasn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It was a game-changing moment of financial security. It meant that we could weather unexpected expenses, job changes, family emergencies, without falling back into debt. Now, this experience taught us the value of strategic moves. It wasn't just about following rigid rules, but it was about understanding our unique financial situation and leveraging opportunities. The sale of our house allowed us to make significant progress on multiple financial fronts, and at the same time setting us up for long-term stability in our new home. Now, let's talk about baby step 4. Invest 15% of household income in retirement. And I'll be honest, I got a late start on this one. I was in my 40s before I really started focusing on retirement. And if there's one piece of advice I can give you, it's this: start early. The power of compound interest is no joke. And according to Dave's advice, I had stopped all retirement contributions when I started the baby steps. However, after we completed the move and all of our finances shook out, I was able to restart the full 15%. This gave me a total of 20% with the match I was getting from work. I diversified my portfolio according to Dave's advice with the limited funds that were available. But before we move on to baby step 5, I want to share a significant change in our journey. Due to my wife's health, we had to move back to Florida. Unfortunately, this transition didn't help us progress through steps 5, 6, and 7. Instead, it prevented us from making those advancements. Moving is a large expense, and we found ourselves in a more precarious financial situation back in Florida. Now, baby step number 5, save for your children's college fund. Retirement savings is my top priority now because I want to avoid being a burden on my children in the future. My oldest is about to start college, and we're exploring every possible way to support him without resorting to student loans. We're looking into scholarships, grants, and any financial aid options that are available. It's important to me that he has the opportunity to pursue his education without the heavy weight of debt hanging over him. Baby step 6, pay off your home early. Now, this is where I start to diverge a bit from Dave Ramsey's strict approach. Well, I see the value in owning your home outright, and I also believe in balancing this goal with other financial priorities. I think it's okay to adapt these steps to your personal situation. Now, for me personally, I believe the right path is paying off my home. However, I recognize that for others, this may not be the right path for them. The decision should align with your individual financial situations and your goals. Then finally, baby step 7, build wealth and give. This step is all about finding that sweet spot between saving for the future and enjoying life now. For me, that's going to mean balancing our saving goals with family activities and experiences. Now, let me share some personal reflections on this journey. First, if I could do it all over again, I would not have tried to move while paying off debt. That added stress that we could have avoided. Second, this experience completely changed my long term financial perspective. I learned that you can plan for the future while still preserving something for the present. And most importantly, I learned that managing money isn't just about numbers. It's about reducing stress even during hard times. Now, one of the profound lessons that I've learned recently is truly understanding what constitutes an emergency. When I first started the baby steps, I thought an emergency was any unexpected expense. Now I realize an emergency is something truly catastrophic: a job loss, major medical issue, or a critical home repair. And not every unexpected expense is an emergency. Learning to distinguish between true emergencies and just inconveniences has been game changing in how we manage our finances. As a financial coach now, my approach is different from Dave Ramsey's. I try to be less judgmental and more personalized. Because here's the thing: personal finance is truly personal. What works for one person may not work for another. So here's my challenge to you: take these baby steps and make them your own. Start your journey towards financial freedom. It won't always be easy, but I promise you it's worth it. And if you want to learn more about personal finance strategies, check out my other videos. And remember, no matter where you are in your financial journey, you've got this.